Well, you're hungover. You drink?
No.
Oh, okay. I don't drink either. Sometimes. Interesting. Fascinating. So, thank you for coming. It's nice of you to show up for the David Yost panel. I'm not sure where they scheduled me by myself, but I'm happy to be here.
That's because you're the greatest Power Ranger of all time.
Do you think it helps me? If you think it helps, I might end up stealing it. Oh, they do? Okay. So this is the blue helmet that I wore in the show called Power Rangers. Thank you for letting me borrow that. And I like your pretty in pink shirt. They sell that here, right? That's a good deal. I haven't seen that before. So if you're a female or a male and you want the pretty in pink shirt, buy it here. Oh, we got even more people coming. Welcome. Hey, it's our boy Frank from New York. Yeah. Give Frank a round of applause. He came all the way from New York. Isn't that crazy? But, I mean, it's nice. It's a little crazy because I'm going to be in New York in a month. Okay, we'll see each other. So, and if any of you else drove several hours, thank you for doing that to see all of us. We greatly appreciate it. I like your green high tops there. Are they the Power Ranger ones? Awesome. Yeah, if you guys, Marvels by Mosher makes our high tops, and if you haven't seen pictures of that or anything, check them out. He's got a booth here, and they're really cool. So, anyways, we'll just do a question and answer panel. If you have a question for me, there's a mic right here, and I mean, maybe I could come into the audience like I'm some kind of talk show, right? And just bring the mic to you guys, and I can answer the question there. Or else I'll stay here for the cameras, I guess. So if you have a question for me, it's intimate enough that maybe we don't even have to come to the mic. You can just... Oh, okay. Maybe I will. I'll answer any questions. There's nothing really off base with me. So like sometimes in these panels where it's just me, people like to ask me about my personal life and stuff like that. So some of it I'll answer, some of it I won't. But anyways, you have a question already? Go for it.
I'd just like to know your basics. I'd like to know your favorite color, favorite food, favorite movie, favorite song, band, all that good stuff.
Holy Toledo. Okay. My favorite color would be blue. I'm just taking the safe route right now. No, blue is actually, it was always one of my favorite colors even before I became a Blue Ranger. Because I have greenish blue eyes, so depending, either wear green or blue, my eyes will turn to that color. So I like blue, and then it would be black, and then it would be green. My favorite food is Mexican, but I'm vegan, so I don't eat anything really other than rice and beans and salsa when it comes to Mexican food. Now that sounds boring, but it's really good to me. Favorite food, favorite color, what was the other one?
Favorite song, favorite movie.
My favorite movie of all time is something called Terms of Endearment. If you haven't seen it, see it. It'll make you cry a lot. That's why I like it, because it's really powerful. Shirley MacLaine, amazing actress. Deborah Winger, amazing actress. Jack Nicholson, amazing actor. Amazing performances. Favorite, what else?
Like music. What kind of music?
I like all kinds of music. I'm an old man, but I like EDM, electronic dance music. So I listen to a lot of house, a lot of dance, techno, that kind of stuff. I know it's embarrassing to see an old man totally, but that's what I do. And then I also like all the music from my time, which would be me growing up in the 80s and early 90s. So like Depeche Mode, Morrissey, The Smiths, all that kind of stuff. That's what I relate to the most. Is that good? You get all that on tape? Okay. Sibyl, yes, right in the front row.
What do you like to do for fun, and what do you like to do to relax?
Well, one of the fun things that I do that also helps me relax is I go hiking a lot. So I'm lucky enough to live in Los Angeles where it's sunny most of the time, and usually around 70 to 80 degrees, so you can't beat that. So I like to be outdoors. And I live really close to a place called Runyon Canyon, and some of you might have seen on my social media sites. I take fans hiking with me. It's called Hiking with Fans. And if you ever come to LA, just send me a message and we'll try to work out a hike. I don't mind doing that. I don't charge for it, so don't worry about that. I enjoy doing that, and so exercise helps me relax. Being outdoors helps me relax because I feel connected to something other than all the hustle and bustle of the world. So I like that, and then I'm also very lucky to live by the beach and the ocean, so I like to spend a lot of time there. Just listening to the waves crash helps me relax a lot. So I also read and write a lot. Is that what answer? Does it kind of sound fun?
It does.
Sound a little bit relaxing? Okay. Yes.
What do you write?
What do I write? Well, I write a lot of different stuff. Right now, I'm actually working on a web series, comedy web series. I don't know if I should talk about this or not. So that's sort of my project that I'm doing right now. I can't really talk about it. Something that we do in Hollywood is not say too much until it's actually finished and you have it registered with the Writers Guild and all that kind of stuff, because then people steal your ideas and da-da-da-da. So.
Are you writing a movie with that?
That would be Austin, that's not me. It's okay, we all look alike. No, we're all part of a family. No, that's Austin, and he didn't write it. A friend, actually somebody that worked on the TV show with us many years ago actually wrote it, and is doing that with Austin. So yeah, he's selling raffle tickets, and he's also, I think it's on Indiegogo or Kickstarter, one of the two. If you haven't donated to his film, please do. So yeah, so that's, I just write a lot of scripted comedy stuff. So I think I'm funny, but maybe other people won't. So anyways, the idea with this web series that I'm doing is for me, I've been fortunate enough to work with amazing production companies over the years. I'm also a producer and a location manager, and one of the production companies that I work with a lot is always looking for new material. So hopefully this will be funny enough for them that they would want to work with me on it. So we'll see what happens. Cool? Yes?
How supportive were your parents professionally and personally?
How supportive were my parents professionally and personally? Alright, professionally, I don't think they knew what to think, because I just said I want to be an actor. I mean, I did the right thing by going to college and getting a degree before I pursued my acting career. So I did that, and then I said, look, I'm going to move to LA and I'm going to be an actor, and I think I was young enough that they said, okay, go give it a shot. So they were supportive, and then I was fortunate enough when I moved to Hollywood, I was only there for 3 months and I landed Power Rangers. So I was given a huge gift by that. I didn't have to struggle like a lot of actors do for years and years and years. So that was good. So they were very supportive because I made it right away. So if I had drug it out over years, they probably would be like, you need to grow up. And then personally, when I came out, you mean as a gay person? Well, I think my parents had watched me struggle for so many years with something, and they didn't know what it was, but they could tell that there was something wrong with me. And for those of you that don't know everything that I went through, after I left Power Rangers, I put myself through conversion therapy, which is trying to make yourself not be gay. And you do that supposedly by praying to God, and God's going to change you, and God can change all things. And unfortunately, that's not the case, and it doesn't work, and it's very damaging mentally. So after doing that for about 2.5 years, I had a nervous breakdown, and I had to check myself into a hospital. So I spent 5 weeks in a hospital trying to get my head back together. And so my parents watching me go through that, still not knowing what was really going on. I hadn't told my parents anything. After them seeing me go through that, obviously they were like, whatever going on, we're gonna love you. And so my mom and I went to an IHOP, of all places, International House of Pancakes. And she was like, if you want to tell me anything, you can tell me. And I couldn't do it. I just broke down and I started crying, and I finally told her, and she was cool with it. And then my parents lived in the San Francisco Bay Area, and I lived in Los Angeles. So after IHOP, she took me to the airport and I flew back to LA, and I guess she had called my dad and told my dad. So by the time that I landed in Los Angeles, my dad had left me a message just saying, you know, it's cool, I love you. So I'm very fortunate to have parents that are very supportive, because there's a lot of people still in the year 2015 that don't have supportive parents, and they have to go it alone, you know, and it's not always easy. So and that's why I came out, because there were so many people committing suicide, so many young people committing suicide, and I definitely was down that path. That if anybody hears my story and can relate to it and can see that I can get through it, I hope that it helps them in some way. So thank you for asking that question. That means a lot to me. Yes, Brother Frank, what's up? A few people definitely have said to me, you know, I'm sorry if I ever said anything that was offensive to you or made you feel bad about yourself. Definitely a few people, but the ones that were creating the biggest issues for me, no. And I wouldn't expect them to, because then they're just admitting guilt. So, but thank you for asking that. Yes?
Have you ever heard of the history of Power Rangers?
The history of it? You mean prior to it coming to America?
No, like a guy talking about the seasons of Power Rangers.
Oh, no. Is it good?
Yeah, it is.
So I need to sit and listen to the history of Power Rangers? Is there a trivia game? Like, do you have to answer questions and you can win prizes? Is it a YouTube thing? Yeah? Awesome.com, and it's called The History of Power Rangers.
Yes, and the second thing is, do you watch any of what reality boss has been in?
Like his anime shows, you mean?
Yeah.
Well, the funny thing about that is that at a certain time in my career in the entertainment business, I used to sell Japanese anime TV shows to television networks. I got several on MTV and Cartoon Network, and one of the ones that I did sell to Cartoon Network was Trigun. And so it was just coincidental that Johnny did the voice on that, and so it was just kind of funny. So yes, I've heard some of his stuff, for sure. Cool, good question.
Suzanne doesn't have that either.
The what?
Suzanne.
No, iShine, is that, I think that's what it's called? Yeah, they're pretty good. And they're all super nice people. So yeah, that's great. Back there. You with the glasses. Alex.
Did you ever consider being an LGBT film or guest starring on Looking, something like that?
Guest starring on Looking? Well, I've auditioned a couple of times for a few LGBT films, and I've gotten called back for the roles, whatever, and I've backed out of them just because sometimes the subject matters, not that I don't support it, but sometimes it's not done in the way that I would want it to be done. So I haven't really done it yet. On a show like Looking, I don't know that I like that show either. I don't think it's realistic to the demographic of living in San Francisco. I think it's very white-oriented still, even though there's technically ethnic people, but it's not really ethnically true to what San Francisco is like. So if you're going to portray a group of friends, I'd like to see more ethnicity within a show. So there's a lot of Asian people, there's a lot of African American or Black people, and I think we need to see more characters like that in our television shows, as opposed to the way that some of the shows are made. So hope this doesn't get too many people mad, but I'm not a fan of Looking. And for those of you that don't know what that is, it's just it's a gay show on HBO. It's kind of good, but not for me. Yes?
Have you ever considered making your own?
My own TV shows?
TV show, movie, something LGBT that is more realistic?
I have definitely thought about it, and the web series, the web series that I'm working on is a comedy, and two of the main characters are gayish. Let that settle in your mind, whatever that means. So, yes. Yeah, I was like, wow, I don't get money for this. No, I'm just kidding. That was not my thought. I think we just all think that way afterwards. But yeah, I mean, it's how awesome is it to get to be on a TV show where you get to be a superhero and you get to have an action figure, not just one action figure, like 50 action figures made after you. It's insane. So it's kind of hard to comprehend. And what's even more hard to comprehend is when you're out in the world and you see, like when the show was on, you'd see kids playing with your toy, especially the one with the flip head. You know, I was like, that's kind of cool. So, yeah, right. And so, yep. And so it was really cool. You know, it's surreal. So it's a cool deal though, because not every actor gets to have an action figure. So I like it. Yes. Go for it. Okay.
So, this was a question I wanted to ask Suzanne yesterday, kind of open it up and direct it at you. When you were in Power Rangers, you had gymnastic backgrounds and things like that. How did you feel having to kind of play this calm guy that was supposed to be good at that kind of stuff?
Yeah, well, that's a good question, because in the beginning, after we did the audition, before we even started filming, we had to train for like a month. So like since Amy Jo and I were gymnasts, they had us training in martial arts. And so we did all these like really intense workouts, and I was getting kind of good. And Haim Saban, the creator of the show, came in and we kind of had to show him like what we were up to. And I started fighting, and he kind of like got really upset because he did not want my character to be able to fight. And so I just remember he was screaming in Hebrew because he's Israeli. And I was like, what is going on? And then somebody, I was like, what did I do? I thought I was doing good. So somebody explained to me that, you know, he just wanted Billy to be very, he didn't want him to be able to fight in real life. And sort of, if I did fight, it had to be clumsy. So like in the beginning kind of episodes, it was like accidental fighting that kind of happened for Billy. And then, what I thought was great, and this is something that I forced onto the writers, and forced whether they wanted me to do it or not, with my character, was to have Billy sort of mature as a fighter. And with, you know, he kept getting better and better and better as the time went on that I was on the show. So it was a little frustrating in the beginning not to be able to step up to the plate. But I understood that it made sense to the character to not be able to fight. So, does that sort of answer your question? Okay, and what was do you remember the second one?
Yes, okay.
The first question, but now it's going to be the second question. Okay.
What inspired you to become a vegan?
Well, I think what inspired me to be a vegan, if you can't hear way in the back there? I think I've just seen too much of the way we raise our animals, and I should say we farm our animals. These are sentient beings, and whether we think that they think or have feelings or not, some people say they don't really, but I believe that they do. And when we just mass produce animals, and we're using genetics and hormones and everything to make these animals grow faster and bigger and fatter, to me it's really disturbing. And then to see the way that we slaughter animals and just send them into our grocery stores for our consumption is really disturbing to me. And I believe that animals have feelings, and the way that they are murdered translates into their DNA, and we eat that. So when they're being fearful, we're eating fear on some level, and it affects us. And we can see with children, with all the hormones, children are developing much sooner than they should in terms of puberty and things like that, because we're consuming the hormones that are in our animal products. So, I don't know. I just kind of started researching it and kind of got freaked out and didn't really want to participate in that. And trust me, I grew up in Iowa, tons of cows, and you know, I thought I could never give up meat, but it really hasn't been a big deal at all for me. And you think you might miss it, but you don't. So, does that sort of answer that question too? So, and I'm not trying to push anybody into being a vegan or give my politics to you, because it's not about that. That's just me personally, the way that I believe. So thank you. Yes?
It's actually a comment. As someone whose life was affected by suicide, as a man,
Your life has been affected by suicide? I'm sorry to hear that.
I really did. I thought the other day I admired it.
That means a lot to me. That's very sweet of you to say. And I just, I know we all have our struggles in life, and I think maybe most people have thought at some point in their life, oh, I just wish this could be over, kind of thing. So I'm sorry for the people that don't make it, but obviously it's probably in a better place. So thank you for sharing that. Thank you. Yes?
When the Gold Ranger came in the video,
Yes.
I remember being super excited because I was just 100% sure that you were going to be back in action. And I was very disappointed. Now that was bad enough. I kind of got over that. But I remember there was a point in Zio where you were attacked by cops, your character, and we all knew you could fight. We saw you in like second, third season, one of my favorite seasons, where you were just kicking butt. And all of a sudden now you couldn't fight anymore. Was that, I'm assuming that wasn't your choice, and I was wondering if you were kind of like, and like, you want me to do what? To just sit there and take it?
Yeah. I don't know if it made me mad. It's just, things were starting to go downhill for me with the producers and everything at the end of Zio. So, there was a lot of frustrations that were going on, and that does, what you're talking about doesn't make sense to the character at all. So, there was a lot of frustration that was going on. And yes, they were teasing the audience to believe that Billy might become the Gold Ranger, and then he wasn't. So that's all I can say about that. So yeah, it's a little disappointing, but I'm glad that they brought Jason back. I thought he did, or Austin. But Jason. Austin is Jason. Never mind. Austin's real name, never mind. He brought Austin back. And so that was, I'm sure that was it was really cool for the fans. So that was awesome. So yeah. Who else has a question? Yes. Have I ever dreamed that I was a Power Ranger in real life? Or like been just walking down the street and I saw something bad happen and I was like, it's morphin' time and it's you mean like when I go to sleep at night? Do I dream? I don't think I ever dreamed that I was a Power Ranger. But I do try to step up to the plate when I see things going down that maybe shouldn't go down. For instance, you may or may not agree with me. I was at a Starbucks a couple weeks ago in Los Angeles, and there was a homeless woman, supposedly, standing in front of me, and you have to walk by this like thing where they have their waters and their sandwiches and all that stuff, and she was loading her bag up with sandwiches and water, and then she tried to leave, and I said, are you going to pay for that? And she's like, no. And I was like, well, you should pay for it. And she's like, I'm not going to pay for it. And so she pushed me, and she said, don't touch me. That's assault. Like, she knows all these things. And I was like, okay. And so I just told the people at Starbucks, and then they chased her out. And then I went out with them just so I could verify like where everything was. And she pulls out her Apple, her phone. Like, she's homeless, but she's got an Apple phone, you know. And I just thought it was weird. But I just, in instances like that, I think it's important to speak up. There was a couple people in the Starbucks that said, dude, she's homeless, you should have just let her have the food. And I agree, but I don't agree with that. I mean, if she would have asked me to pay for it, I would have paid for it for her. Or if she would have asked somebody, could you just buy me something, I would have been happy to do that. But to steal something, that frustrates me because I've been a business owner. I used to own a restaurant. And if somebody came into my restaurant and just took stuff, whether they were homeless or not, it's not right. Because it does add up. And if I let one person do it, and then I let another person do it, and another person do it, I'm losing money. So that's just what it comes down to. But, sorry, I went off on a tangent. I have never dreamt that I was a Power Ranger. Sorry. But I'm just saying we should step up to the plate and do what's right. Okay. Sorry, Frank. Yes. Yes. My college degrees? Okay. I have a degree in mass communications with an emphasis in media and a theater degree. And then I have a master's degree in consciousness studies, which is a combination of science, psychology, spirituality, science, psychology, and religion. Sorry. So that's what I have degrees in. Is that okay? Did I pass the test? I try to be somewhat... Okay. Okay. Yes. There was really zero. Like, we sort of heard that the footage came from Japan, so that part, but we never talked to the actors. I mean, their show was done 20 years before it even came to us. So there was a huge gap in between that. So we never had contact with them. They showed us maybe 2 episodes at one point when we were on the show, just to show us what the Japanese show was like. And then all this contact with the people from Japan is happening more recently in the last few years for us. Like there's 3 of them here at this con. So that's only been a recent development. We never really had any contact with them. I didn't. We did have some of the stunt team from Japan come over and started doing the stunts in the United States, but we rarely didn't work with them either because we were on separate filming crews, if that makes any sense. We always had 2 crews going. One was us, the civilians, and one was the stunt doubles. Sorry if that disappoints you. I can see the disappointment on your face. Sorry. Oh. Any questions on this side of the room? Anyone? No one? Oh. And 3 aren't. Okay, yes.
So do you have any festivals?
I have, and one that I really want to do right now is called Holy Shit. Do you guys know about that? Yeah. So, but it just sold out. So I was really bummed. So I got to figure out how to get in on that, but I'm definitely going to do it. Do you guys go to festivals?
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah? They're fun. Good. I'm the old man in the corner. But there are some older people than me that kind of freak me out. I'm like, am I going to be that guy? Nothing wrong with being old. So, all right, there's questions. Yes?
What kind of cool, overall general social impact you've seen that this show has done? I know you talked about, cool experiences you've met with fans personally, but do you think it's that, as a show, this has impacted us, and, how have you seen this impact of maybe cool social?
Sure. It's really been crazy and humbling to hear how our characters and how the TV show has affected a lot of people's lives. Many of you. Never in a million years would I have ever thought that this cheesy show that I started started for us in 1992 when we filmed the original pilot would ever have the impact that it did on you guys. So it's shocking to me. But I love hearing the stories about how people became martial artists, or if you were a fan of Billy, you became a scientist or a doctor or an IT person. It's fascinating, and I'm glad to be a part of a show that has had such an amazing impact on people's lives. And the stories, everybody tells us amazing stories. So, and me, more recently, coming out as a gay person, just today, a nice young man came to me and just told me how much it meant to him. So I love to hear that, and it makes me know that I did the right thing by coming out and helping people in the LGBT community. So does that answer your question? Did you have a question?
Yeah.
I think so. Not crazy, but yeah. But I don't know. I don't want to turn the crowd against me. I might get stoned. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. I mean, I believe in it all. So I don't think there's a right religion. I think just from getting my master's degree in consciousness studies, I had to study, I think, almost every religion. And when you put them all out, they're all basically telling the same story, just in a different way. And, it all comes down to love, and it all comes down to acceptance, and it all comes down to accepting your brother. So if we can get past our judgment, which is a really hard thing for the human to do, because we're constantly, you just really sit and think about it, we're always judging. We're judging colors, we're judging the way somebody looks, we're judging somebody's hair, somebody's clothes, we're judging ourselves, the way we look, our hair, our clothes, whatever. If we can get past judgment and just learn to be accepting, I think it's Rumi, has this amazing poem that he wrote, but he talks about this place out there where all that's gone and it's just love. And that's really what it comes down to. And I meditate, and I would encourage people to learn how to meditate, because it really helps you, one, get rid of stress, and two, it puts you in such a calm state that you start experiencing love, like truly at its amazing, most coolest form, and that's where all this judgment starts falling away. And then you can start looking at the world in a different way. So we live in a somewhat scary time, with all the wars that maybe aren't necessary that's going on. We live in a world that we're always trying to dominate. Who's better? Who's tougher? Who's stronger? Who's going to control? And that's scary that innocent people are losing their lives constantly and senselessly. And I don't think that that's the way that the world is meant to be. And if you want to look at biblical things, I mean, obviously we haven't become smarter people in 2,000 years. We're still fighting crazy wars and battles. So I don't know if that's really different. I mean, I respect everybody that's been in the Army, the Air Force, the Marines, which part of the Army? The Navy, Coast Guard. Everybody that's fought for our country obviously has done a tremendous job for us so that we have amazing freedoms, because in so many countries, women are persecuted and people are not given their social freedoms. So we're lucky to be here in America, but I just believe in non-judgment. So I'll just leave it at that. Sorry, we got a little deep there. Yes, Dragon Ball Z. When was the last time we were all together? 1995. Unfortunately, we were never able to all come together. It's just never worked out. I think, Austin and I weren't here last year, but Amy, Joe, Jason, and Walter were here. Obviously, we'll never get to be with Twee again. Yeah, it's never worked out, but maybe in the next couple of years we'll be able to figure something out where all of us can come together. I would like that. And we're all, regardless of what you guys hear on social media, we're all good friends, and we all keep in touch with each other. I know there seems to be a battle between two, but I don't think it really exists. I think it gets hyped up a little bit more than it really is. So, yeah. So we'll see. I would like to have this all back together. So. Cool. Any more questions? Yes?
Through time and social media, I know that we kind of feel like we've known you through the story. We haven't seen it about you.
About Twee? She loved to brush her hair. She liked hairspray. She was very funny. She had an amazing laugh. You want me to tell, like, Twee, one of the things that I remember about Twee was that during one of her fights, she got injured. She injured her knee really bad. And she couldn't really walk for probably 2 weeks. And so they would actually carry her to set, which I always thought was funny. So like a production assistant, a guy would come in and pick her up and walk her to set and drop her down. So I just always thought that was, not drop her, set her down gently. I just thought that was always funny that she would get carried to set. So it was, I don't know. But she was a sweet girl, and I kind of take it for granted because Amy Jo and Twee were so much like my sisters, so I didn't really look at them. I didn't realize how beautiful they were. And so, like, when I look back on it now, I'm like, dang, they were really pretty girls. I mean, no wonder all the guys wanted to be with them, right? So, yeah, she was just so pretty. Like, in real life, I mean, just the most gorgeous skin and amazing hair and just funny. She had a great laugh. So, thank you. Yes?
Since you all were not with the show, and I know you all have been touch, but how much impact did her action have on you all?
Well, obviously, unfortunately in life, we all part at some time. We cross over to the other side, and you just don't expect it when you're so young, And so it obviously brought us all together, and we all were able to talk about Twee and what we remembered about her, and it should be a lesson for all of us to always wear your seatbelt. You don't wear your seatbelt, please wear your seatbelt. She unfortunately passed in a car accident, laying in the back seat of a car because she was sleeping and didn't have her seatbelt on. And her friend fell asleep at the wheel. And so, it's sad when a tragic accident happens like that because it's sort of a senseless accident. So, yeah, it was sad for all of us because she was, the original 5, and I'll say the original 6, but the original 5 of us, we went through a lot together. And then when Jason Frank came in too, just that whole first season cast, we had an amazing chemistry together, and we were really connected, and we really enjoyed each other's company, and we really enjoyed being together. And so, it's like losing a family member, obviously. So thank you. This is a deep Q&A panel, huh? Talking about all kinds of crazy stuff. Anybody else? Yes?
Here comes even more shallow again.
Shallow.
Mighty Morphin Power Rangers the movie, one of my top 3 favorite movies of all time.
How many times have you watched it? 50?
Yeah,
At least?
Okay.
Okay.
So I was just kind of wondering, the costumes were so cool, and just everything about the movie was just awesome. But I remember after the movie was over with, and then season 3 came along, and at first you guys were actually still in your Thunder Swords because you did that crossover with Masked Rider, and I was really confused. Did that confuse you? Why all of a sudden you guys were like, wait a minute, didn't we just change powers, now we're doing it again?
Yeah, I was confused for a good 200 episodes.
As much as I love the show, there were so many continuity problems, like, wait a minute, didn't we do that? And I was just wondering if that...
Yeah, no, it definitely played a factor in when we were filming things. When you're on set and you're doing a TV show, you actually have a continuity person, which helps us keep track of everything that's going on and to make sure that we're shooting things in the proper order, that we're wearing the right outfits. When you film a scene, you always have to repeat the action that you're doing. So you'll do it in a wide shot, so I'm holding the microphone in a wide shot, and then they'll come in for a close-up, but it's being shot at a different time. So I have to match everything that I'm doing, and so a continuity person helps me match my actions, just to remind me what I was doing. But yeah, she would get confused all the time too, which is never good. Because she'd be like, now wait a minute, we just did this doesn't make sense. Exactly what you're saying. So there was a lot of confusion, and I know the writers and the producers, everybody did their best to try to fill in the holes, but there's definitely holes all over the place throughout the series. So that's a great question. Anybody else? Yes?
I know the deal wasn't necessarily the best time for you, but was there a thing on set, like some apprehension that all the changes that were going to happen, is it just going, no, this isn't, minor power, is it more
on set, I don't know if that was happening, but we definitely experienced that what you're talking about. People starting to go, wait, this isn't my Power Rangers, and this isn't any offense to anybody I've worked with. But as soon as Austin, Twee, and Walter left, things started to change fan-wise, for sure. And we definitely felt it. And as it kept going, The movie was great. I mean, Johnny and Steve and Karen are amazing people. And then when we moved into Zio, we had lost Amy Jo, and we got Catherine, and we lost Karen, and then we got Nakia. You know, I think when you start changing so much, people start getting disinterested. But that was something that the creator of the show, he didn't care. So our jobs were always, I shouldn't say this, but I'm going to. We were sort of always threatened with our jobs. And he would say, like, look, if you don't like it, we can fire you and we'll replace you. That was something that we lived with all the time on set. So if you don't like it, you're fired and we'll put somebody in, because the fans, it's not about you. They like the dinosaurs, they like the colors, they like this, they're not necessarily connected to the characters. So they would say that to us, which is really rude. And obviously, 20 years later, we know that's not true, because we wouldn't have the fan base that we have if you guys weren't connected to our characters. So, suck it. Make sure I'm not going over time. Do you have a question? And I'll come to you. I like your t-shirt, by the way. Stand up and show everybody that t-shirt. That's what I'm talking about. Yeah. Who is my closest friend on set? Are you trying to start a fight? I would say, I mean, Amy Jo and I were like brother and sister, so we hung out a lot. But Jason, David, Frank, and I were probably the best of friends. I used to babysit his kids so he and his wife could go on date night. And, you know, he and I would hang out a lot. We'd go scuba diving and do all kinds of crazy stuff together. Recently, yes. Yeah, I went and visited him and his wife, his new wife, Tammy, in Houston, where they live, right before Christmas. And so he and I went shopping, and I was pushing him around in a cart. Is that okay? So that was fun. Yeah, he's funny. I mean, the great thing about Jason is just that he's so crazy, and he's very, 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 very funny. And so whenever I'm with him, it's nonstop laughter for us. So yeah. So I would say Amy Jo and Jason. And I think that's also in part too, because you know, when the other three left, the three of us kind of had to get solidified as well, and so that just sort of kind of was the way that it was. Cool? Yeah. But I love everybody, just so we're clear. I'm friends with them all, I hope you can see, because I'm here with them, and we hang out, and we have a good time. So there's no animosity anywhere, okay? I don't want any rumors. Yes? Well, it was one of the executive producers' idea, and I remember the phone call very clearly, and I was like, okay. I mean, it wasn't great by any means, but there's not much, I don't have any say in it, so it's whatever they want, and it's the direction of the show that they took. I don't think, why didn't I have a say in it? Oh. Honestly, I don't know, that'd be a question for them. You know, I just think that that's the way that they wanted to start moving the show in a direction of replacing the cast every year, sort of what they do now, and what they did for the last 15 years or so. So I think that's all it came down to. And again, like I said in the big panel yesterday, I don't regret on any level the way that things ended up for Billy. I think it's kind of cool that he ended up becoming a helper in the command center. And even though I left the show and then they had to scramble to write how Billy was going to leave the show, I thought it was cool that he ended up in space. I mean, to me it wasn't a great experience for me the way that I left, but for the character, it ended up being, I think, a good thing. So, and you know, he's out there. He's probably like Captain Kirk now. So we'll see what happens. Maybe someday we'll find out what happened to Billy. Yes?
Throughout the series, it would always show the group doing like activities like skydiving, rollerblading, or some other thing. What was your favorite activity for that show that you might have to do?
For me, I don't you'll have to forgive me because I don't know the episode numbers or really where. Yeah, or where it fell in. But I remember once we got to go four-wheeling. So that was a fun one to shoot. And then there was the Wild Wild West. I think that was the one where we got to ride horses. That was a lot of fun, except I'll say in both instances, Jason David Frank should not be allowed to ride a horse, and he should not be able to ride a four-wheeler. That's a nut job. He doesn't listen to directions at all. Like me, I'm a Capricorn. Not that I believe in star signs, but I'm a Capricorn, and so I'm very by the book, and I like order, and I like to listen to rules, and I like to follow rules. He's the complete opposite, and if somebody tells him, don't do that, he'll immediately do it. So he took off, like where our studio was. I'm so embarrassed. Getting text. Where our studio was, it was by these mountains. And he took off on a four-wheeler. And I can remember all of us standing in the parking lot. And he just takes this four-wheeler way up this mountain, and then it just launches. and then you just see him fall. You can't see it. It just looks like he launches and just drops off the side of the cliff. Is what it looks like. And I remember our line producer just like screaming like crazy because it's like, one, did he damage himself? Two, did he damage the four-wheeler? There's like all this insurance that's going on in our producer's head. Like, oh my God, this is going to cost so much money. Why doesn't he listen to me? So, yeah. But yeah, we get to do a lot of fun stuff. So we get to film at the beach a lot of the time, so that was nice. So we had a lot of good stuff. Any questions on this side of the room? Yes? Well, I hope they would have left me as the Blue Ranger. I think it would have made sense. Or it would have been a nice to be the Gold Ranger. Okay, so we got one more question, and we'll go from there. Does anybody have the final question? All right, yeah.
If things did go bad in the show, the way it was set up, it almost seemed like it started moving more technological with Turbo and all, and Zordon was gone. You would have moved into that role and be more of a Zordon-ish character and the creator of the Zords and the Zord technology, as opposed to relying on more mystic-oriented things like real crystals and the coins and all that.
It definitely would have made sense to the character, for sure. I don't know, obviously, but that would have been that would make sense for Billy. I mean, he created communicators. He knows how to create teleportation devices. So why not? Why wouldn't he know how to make a Zord after working in so many Zords as the Blue Ranger? So he could have improved on all that. So yeah, that would have been great. So I just want to thank you all for coming. It's very nice of you to show up for my little panel, and thank you for being here. If you haven't come down to our tables and seen us, which I'm sure most of you have, but if you haven't, come down to our tables and say hi, and hugs are always free. And I genuinely, from the bottom of my heart, appreciate all of you. I love everything that you say to us. I am very honored and humbled to know you and to get to meet you, and we thank you so much for being our fans and sticking with us for 20 years. And hopefully we'll be able to get to create some new stuff for you guys, maybe with the movie reboot. You'll get to see some of us in that. We'll find out. And if not, we'll try to make an original Power Ranger reunion happen for some of you that really care about the originals. So thank you all. Enjoy the rest of your con. And thank you for letting me come to Lexington. And thank you for listening to my deep psychological topics today.